my name is Caitlyn Mullis. I'm a junior studying geology, and this is my presentation on carbon sequestration. So carbon sequestration is the capture of carbon, and a few ways carbon can be emitted into our atmosphere is through transportation. So that would be like automobiles, like cars, planes, trains, and boats, and that's because they use gas. And then we move on to power plants. So when you picture a power plant, you think of lots of smokestacks, and in those smokestacks, it's releasing carbon as well. And then forestry is the burning of trees, and then natural gas and petroleum products. So the combustion of natural gas and petroleum products for heating and cooking emits the most carbon dioxide of everything listed here. So a few ways we can reduce CO2 emissions would be like biking or carpooling to work, washing your clothes in cold water, using solar panels, and insulating your home. These actions are good on a local scale, but we need a marginal scale change, which can lead us to carbon capture technology. In both organic and non-organic capture technology, the excavated carbon is stored underground. So in the organic process, which is biological removal, plants absorb the released carbon and they store it underground using their roots. And when trees absorb it, they make wood. So the roots of the trees go deep underground and store the carbon there. And then the roots can be turned into charcoal by controlled burns. This brings us to non-organic removal. So non-organic removal would be oxy-fuel combustion, which is the newest technology in the field. And so the advance of carbon capture is oxy-fuel, and it's a more efficient process, which it uses less fuel than other companies would. So the oxy-fuel combustion is a new and inventive way to deal with the emissions from burned fossil fuels. And this is how the oxy-fuel combustion works. So the way it works is the air, which is already filled with carbon emissions, is captured in the air separation unit, which is to the far left. And this is where all the elements but pure oxygen are filtered out and then put into the boiler. In the oxy-fuel combustion methods, fossil fuels are burnt in almost pure oxygen instead of regular air as compared to other ways it's captured non-organically. So nitrogen makes up majority of the air, and by removing nitrogen from the air in which the fossil fuels are burnt, the boiler can produce a flue gas, which is very high in concentrations of CO2 and H2O. The lack of nitrogen means this concentrated flue gas is much easier to compress and store. And flue gas is basically the smoke that you see that comes from combustion that is released through the smokestacks like in a power plant. So the water in the flue gas is like a cooling liquid that they use to keep the boiler at a regular temperature, and oxy-fuel is the only company that uses it in this way. So that's another reason why that it's like the most inventive out of all of them. And so oxy-fuel compares remarkably to traditional power plants because the true power plants directly release flue gas back into the atmosphere, while oxygen recirculated the flue gas in order to keep the boiler at a stable temperature is what oxy-fuel does. So once the CO2 is in its purest state, it is stored underground or made into solid CO2 pellets and these are done by mixing the CO2 with other chemicals, and they can store it in a stable, concentrated way. And it's like really small compared to just floating around in the atmosphere. And so other companies that sequester carbon are not as successful as oxy-fuel in the sense that they stay carbon neutral while the oxygen becomes carbon negative. So an example of being carbon neutral would be like capturing the carbon and then using it again in gasoline. So it goes out of the atmosphere, into your car, and then right back. So that's staying carbon neutral. It's just like recycling the same carbon over and over. But overall, oxy-fuel combustion is the first technological advance in the carbon field that has become almost 100% carbon negative, making it the most efficient carbon sequestration process.